Hello everyone and welcome to this week's video. This week is going to be another freelancing discussion and sort of workflow video. And in this week's video, I'm going to be discussing setting up your business plan and phases of work, and basically how to make your business plan and manage that plan, as well as any work you have coming in. I'm going to discuss the three main stages of working in a project and tips and things you can do along them, from the early talks getting started to the working on the actual project itself, and then finally closing the project and possibly working with the client or whoever in the future. Before we get started, I do want to remind you down below, hit subscribe to get notified of when videos come out, and hit the bell icon next to it and hit all to make sure you see everything that comes out on the channel. And down in the description you can follow us on GitHub and Instagram. Follow us there for coding and other cool updates. If you want to continue learning beyond my videos or join a community full of scripters, extension writers, plugin people, and expressions, you can join the Discord server, get your questions answered, or just join in the community. And then finally, if you'd like to help support the channel, you can become a member, supporter, premium supporter, or a VIP to get cool perks like weekly VIP streams, getting code shoutouts, and your names in videos. And you can also get to be a part of a monthly Q&A live stream and get lots of cool other perks. So let's get started talking about this topic. We're going to be again talking about setting up your business plan and phases of work and how to handle them. Essentially, this is going to be more geared towards scripting, extensions, and plugin writing, which is what I do on a daily basis. However, this could apply to other aspects of programming, freelancing, and other jobs as well, because there are a lot of common themes such as communication and agreeing on certain things and making compromises sometimes that can apply to all fields. So first, let's go over the early talks and getting started on a project. So the first thing you want to make sure you take into mind and always think about is to have clear communication and finding a common language. You may be working with people that aren't introverts or aren't extroverts like you are. You may be working with someone who doesn't speak the same language as you as their first language, or you could be working with someone who has no technical knowledge or too much technical knowledge, and then there can be communication barriers that way. So make sure communication is clear. This is a thing that is in all human relationships and needs to be thought of upfront. The next thing is, if you continue to go forward with them, if you've seen that there's not really any red flags or things that are off-putting to you, and you want to go forward with it, whether you're having talks or you've already started the project and are basically setting up all the information and communication notes, you want to take your own notes of everything you talk about. Maybe even record any calls or Skype calls you have, since that is more common. In fact, I do both. I record some calls and I also take detailed notes of everything in terms of features of what someone needs, in terms of things they might need in the future. I write everything down that I think could be relevant to this project, the next project. And that's mainly to make sure that I'm going to always make sure I'm on the same page as the client, make sure there's nothing that slips past me where they think that I wasn't listening, and also it will make my job when I'm actually creating products a lot easier because I'll have a list of things that I can do. Next, when you're setting up communication and talking about pricing and how things are going to work deliverable-wise, you want to establish how you're going to work with them up front, and you don't want to have any surprises from either party. If you're going to go off and work for a month without communication, you should let them know, otherwise they'll think something's happened. If they happen to be very poor at communication and they ghost you for long periods of time, you need to communicate with them how often you're comfortable with communication. Both of you need to be on the same page in terms of when to expect for updates, when to ask questions, and that way no one's either pestering each other or seems like they ran away with the project. Next up is more for the technical type of projects you might be doing. For example, right now, I have a lot of people requesting for web server reading and writing from, basically being able to upload or download information from a web server. If there are concepts in a project you're unfamiliar with or not very apt at, now is the time to do testing and ensure it's both possible and actually learnable for you, and that it's not too large of a task. If you think that whoever's hiring you could pay you the extra required to learn like a brand new programming language or something, then definitely ask them for permission, and sometimes they will give you the go-ahead, because the best time to learn a new language or a new skill is via a project which has the pressure behind it that will make you want to get it done faster. Of course, don't exceed what you may be able to do, but that is an option. And of course, decide very early on if you want to work with these people or this company or on this type of project. If you're in the market to try something new and they offer you a sort of different project than you're used to, then definitely go for it. But if so many things come up or red flags that you notice because they have poor communication or previous red flags that I talked about, check out the video above, then you can make the decision yourself of whether or not you're going to cancel out. And never feel bad for saying no to a project, because if you say no to a project, there may be an even better project on the other side of that coming in. The next part 2 of a project, is working on the project itself. Hopefully you've well outlined for both parties how this process is going to go in your early communication, and basically now you can start working on your project. You as the freelancer or worker making this from scratch or however you create things, you want to make sure you have an organized to-do list every day to stay on top of work. Especially if you have a strict deadline of maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks you need to get a product done in, it's great to have to-do lists and partition your jobs up each day so that you know this day I need to work on these features, maybe this day I need to do testing and fixing, this day I'm going to do this and then send it off to them. And you want to have a daily list of things to do, and even having them checked off makes it feel a little bit better to get each task done. And the reason for this is to make sure you don't fall behind, at least when you finish communication with them and get your first payment, or however you decide to do payments. At least after that, create the folders and the structures and the name of your project so you at least have it there ready to go whenever. Next is just a tip that I like for more technical projects, and that's to try to dedicate large chunks of times for the complex parts of the project and then build iteratively on top of that. But what I mean by this is to start off with the most complex things. If there's a grand complex thing that needs to be done that you think will take a while, that's not intertwined with other things that you need to program as well, then it's good to take a large chunk of time at the beginning and just get this done, or at least basically set up. You may want to make them a sort of demo working version of what they're requesting, and then iteratively build on top of that, which will make it a lot easier. You don't want to just try and build everything perfect at once all the time. If you have a very massive project, it may be good to just build large complex parts basically, and then iterate on top of that. And like I said, make sure you keep communication, questions, and feedback with your client at the speed they prefer, which you hopefully would have established or kind of gotten a feel for at the beginning of whether or not they're going to be constantly asking, hey, where's the product? Or they might be requiring less communication if you're asking too many questions. So if that's the case, make sure you just adjust how much you're communicating with them. One thing I like to try and do, if I'm not too swamped, is to send more professional deliverables than they expect. I don't necessarily mean to provide something different or sort of what you think is beyond the design or functionality of what they asked for. This means to send them things that will make their life super easy when you send them a product. For example, if I'm sending someone an extension that requires them to install it, figure out how to launch it inside of After Effects or Premiere, and do all these other things, I just make them a simple short demo video. An engaging video similar to this, where I have my screen displayed and myself displayed so they feel engaged with me talking, and I send them this basic short video explaining anything I think that is important for them to know, any quirks the product may currently have, any questions I have along the way, and this will make it seem a lot more professional. And there's probably lots of different ways you can package your deliverables up with a video or a PDF or something else to make it more professional. Then lastly, stay organized and have backups. I currently am trying to upgrade the way I version my projects, because right now, sometimes if I go back and need to use a previous version of the extension, which happens sometimes, where the client says, hey, a few months back we were working on this version and I liked how that worked better than now. Can we use that? Well, if you keep backups and things, this process will be made very easy. Or if you just need to go back to old code that was working and see the difference, this will be useful as well. And staying organized is very important, of course. I go over this in a lot of my workflow tutorials in terms of just having a folder to keep all your extensions or plugins or scripts in, and be able to easily understand where everything is located and go and find it. Now lastly, the last part of a project, sometimes the most tedious, is closing the project and looking towards the future. As I previously mentioned, it's good to send deliverables with instructions, but especially if you're working on a large project that you're finally finishing after months or even years, you're essentially going to want to make sure you leave them with very detailed instructions and or a video. Essentially assume that your client is a basic brand new user to After Effects or whatever product you're creating for, and assume that they have no knowledge, but with your guide they can basically get it done in just a few minutes. And again, this next one is more for technical jobs, this is more geared towards. Make sure you do a fair bit of detailed testing on different computers, different versions of the program that it's going to be used in before you send the final files. Too often you can be in a rush at the very end of a project and just be like, I think this is good, let's package it up and send it, when usually you'll spend a little bit more time testing it out. So make sure you test it on Mac, Windows, different versions of whatever Adobe program or other program you're using, and make sure that most likely it's going to work very well when you send it to them. Because sometimes you can send them a product and it's either an old version because you got lazy and didn't test, or something else. And along these lines, the last stages of projects can be frustrating for both parties, and this can drag on. So make sure you're extra diligent, extra attentive, taking extra good notes to know what needs to be done along this time, because sometimes the most amount of work can be put into the end of a project, whether you're trying to fix last minute bugs that keep popping up or something else. And after you finally finish the product, received your final payment, check up on your client every so often. This is up to you, of course, how often you want to do this, but I always check in at least once a month or so to make sure the extension, plugin, whatever is working smoothly, and make sure you ask, has anyone found any issues? Do I need to fix anything? And be up to offer that help. And this help you're offering will also make them more apt to want to hire you again, because you're making sure and providing continual support to the products. And sort of on a more selfish note, to help improve your business in the future and make your life easier, if you did something really useful in the project and you can reuse it, whether you had to sign an NDA or something and you can use it again is up for question, of course, but if you can reuse any of the elements you created in this project, whether they're complex or simple, extract that feature out now. So if I made a function that did something super cool that hadn't been seen before in After Effects, and I sent that project out but had also rights to my own code, then I could take that, put it in a project, and either then make a tutorial for you guys teaching that, or I could just reuse that function later to save me a ton of time on the next project. But that's gonna do it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. That's the freelancing video for how to do business planning and set up your phases of work and just general advice on projects. If you enjoyed the video, hit the thumbs up button. Down below, hit subscribe and the bell icon to be notified of new videos coming out twice weekly on the channel. And down in the description, you can follow us on GitHub and Instagram to get live updates. Make sure you join the Discord server and get help with scripting, plugins, extensions, and much more. Ask any questions you have and just join the community. And of course, if you'd like to help support the channel on YouTube and get cool perks in the process, you can become a member, supporter, premium supporter, or VIP. Thanks again for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time.